This is the short list. So much smoke and devastation from the Camp Fire this week that destroyed the town of Paradise and the Woolsey Fire down south. What is usually a weekend to celebrate veterans has seen events and parades canceled due to the hazardous conditions outside. The Camp Fire was at 20% containment as of Sunday afternoon. The Woolsey Fire was at 5% containment. There's a list on KFBK.com to find out how you can help the victims of the fires and who is coordinating aid and care. With no rain in the forecast, stay tuned to KFBK this week for the very latest information. And if you're close to a smoky area, it might be a good time to invest in some of these. They're called N95 particulate masks and will help keep the smoke out of your lungs. You can find them at hardware stores, and Amazon had them for $15 over the weekend. Instead of highlighting podcasts and my fulsome focus stories this week, I'd like to use Veterans Day to re-air this story that I first brought you on Memorial Day. It's about a local family with a wartime mystery that was solved thanks to a dedicated group of volunteer scientists, divers, and veterans. Madame Curry was playing at the theater on base, and someone had just delivered ice cream to the mess hall. But Lieutenant Thomas Kelly had a mission on this day. Over the skies of Papua New Guinea, Lieutenant Kelly and his crew were aboard the B-24 Heaven Can Wait, the lieutenant in his bombardier position at the front of the aircraft.
Loved it. That was their rush. And they didn't get to do it all the time. You know, they didn't go up on missions every day.
The weather was windy and rainy that day, but Lieutenant Kelly was exactly where he wanted to be. The farm boy from Livermore, who once listed his hobbies as blondes, brunettes, and redheads, was fiercely proud of how he was serving and had thoughts of becoming a pilot when the war was over.
Very much patriotism, very much, this is what I do for my country. Maybe it was because everybody else did it, but it was in him.
Diane Christie of Folsom only recently got to know her uncle.
There was so much pain. He was rarely talked about. Sorry. But my mom could never listen to I'll Be Home for Christmas without crying because he never came back home.
Anti-aircraft fire ended that dream, taking Heaven Can Wait into the ocean and launching a mystery about Lieutenant Kelly's death that his descendants would take on 70 years later.
For me, it started as an interesting puzzle. How much could we find about the circumstances of this crash?
Diane's cousin, Scott Althouse, was the first to become curious. A professor and researcher from Illinois, he drafted the family into the project.
Then when he said he wanted us to go to Memphis to do research because he had all this information he had to gather, we were like, what does it all mean? Like, we had no idea how he was going to put this all together.
We were researching the kinds of databases that any good public library would have access to. And it was really just getting tapped into this network of incredibly gracious strangers all around the world who helped us fill out the pieces, told us where to look for the next steps, and just as a family having perseverance.
When Scott presented his findings to Project Recover, they agreed to take the case. This nonprofit dedicated to finding American MIAs traveled to New Guinea and, using the family's research, spent weeks looking for the crash site.
When we heard they were going out to Hanta Bay, we were confident that if they couldn't find the plane, it couldn't be found.
After 2 weeks of diving and searching, the final resting place of Heaven Can Wait revealed itself.
All right, here we come in, guys. All right, to your port. Moving in perfect. I guess the gun was what we thought it was. Good copy. We got wreckage in view.
Visual confirmation on the wreckage.
Sweet.
Emotions just came pouring out. I sobbed, I cried. I talked to my sister, and she's sobbing and crying. We're like, where is this coming from?
The family now hopes that the federal agency that oversees POW and MIA recoveries will prioritize Lieutenant Kelly's case because the portion of the wreck found may encapsulate his body.
We've connected with 7 other families from the crew that we've been in contact with took a lot of research to find them, but our family found them. We found 7 of them.
One family's research may fill holes in the lives of 7 families and answer questions that for generations went unanswered when lives were interrupted and families changed by war.
Those were 11 individuals lost on March 11th, 1944.
This has been The Short List. I'm Christina Mendonça. Let's stay connected.